Welcome to Baffling Cyclops. I'm David.
And I'm Pepper Proxy.
And this has been quite the week.
It has been quite the week, but kind of a fun weekend.
Yeah, we've had a nice weekend. I had a couple things to talk about this week.
Nice.
One involves our neighborhood and a post on Nextdoor.
Okay.
That I enjoyed. The subject of the Nextdoor post was fecal matter all about. Or maybe fecal matter all about. Now, when I clicked on it.
Fecal matter all about?
I was like, is this...
Or a boot if we were Canadian.
Is this an FAQ about fecal matter? It's all about fecal matter. But that would be all about fecal matter, not fecal matter all about.
Right.
Yes. And the first sentence is, I have noticed a large increase in human feces all over the sidewalk.
Yikes.
I am curious who to call to have the heaps removed so that I can walk...
The what removed?
The heaps removed so that I can...
Could you spell that?
HEAPS.
Okay.
Removed so that I can walk the streets without risking health and having to look at poop all about.
There's where you're all about falls.
Right. It's all about. It's also hazardous for my fur baby to be tracking through human mess. As a city of very vocal residents, I am curious why Seattleites are so willing to tolerate excrement accumulating throughout the city, like we live in some medieval slum.
Wow.
They compared our neighborhood to a medieval slum. Do the children of Seattle not deserve better? Or
fur babies.
Yeah, I've truly never seen anything like it. But she's obviously never looked before I flushed then. I'm very interested in hearing all of the creative solutions. I am not going to share the photos I've taken, as I'm sure you all aware of what I'm talking about.
Wait a minute.
Although I have substantial evidence if you DM me.
Well, hang on a sec. She's like photo document. Is it a female or male or?
I think it's a male.
Well, they are documenting this. And how do they decipher between the fecal matter of a large dog versus the fecal matter of a human?
Well, someone commented. There's a lot of dog poop left out all over these days too.
Yeah.
And there was the poop emoji. Because I think you'd get blocked on Nextdoor for certain words.
Oh, okay.
Which is why we had fecal matter all about. So it's hard to tell now. And then one of our other neighbors named Jessica replied, "Oh my goodness, if you can't tell the difference between dog and human poop, you have an issue. It's vastly different."
Does she explain how?
No.
Okay.
Then someone said, might want to bag it up and send it to those in government who allow this.
Okay. Because this is a really important issue right now with everything that's going on. The fecal matter all about. We have seen fecal matter on a sidewalk here or there, which is a suspicious size, I would say. But I haven't seen it all about. Have you?
No, suspiciously sized fecal matter. I've heard, here's another comment. I've heard about some buildings in New York City that do DNA testing to match dog waste to the dogs in the building, with hefty fines for the owner whose dogs escaped to make a mess or who failed to clean up after them. I wonder if a Seattle-wide policy is needed at this point.
Wait a minute. We have rape kits that have not been processed from 15 years ago because there's not enough focus and there aren't enough people to be able to do the DNA testing and process the rape kits. So New York City has a priority of processing the DNA. Can you even get DNA from fecal matter?
No. But you can dust for it. So what you do is you get a print of, well, never mind, the part of the dog, and then match it up and say, this seems like schnauzer poop. So then someone refers to the people that poop on the sidewalk as our untoileted neighbors, and that we are privileged for having a toilet.
Okay. Wait a minute. Wasn't it? I'm sorry, but I feel like it was 2 summers ago when that dude was pooping in the driveway of like down on our walk. Remember that?
Yeah, that was a big deal too. And people were mad because someone was specifically mad about him because he was going to the restroom in their driveway.
Is it really called a restroom at that point?
He was going to the driveway in their driveway. And the person was like, it was right where his kids were getting into the car. Like, because I guess it was hidden from the street a little bit. So he was going there and right by the door where he loads his kids in. And he was like, I don't want my kids stepping in that. So,
well, he got in trouble, though, I think, on Nextdoor because somebody suggested, oh, well, you should get motion sensor, like sprinklers.
Right.
And so, and they said that they use them for raccoons, which I thought was kind of brilliant, I have to say. And then there were people up in arms to say that would be really cruel and nasty to do to the man who was defecating in their driveway.
all about
the driveway.
Yeah. So we have one of the most liberal next doors in the United States. We are in one of the most liberal districts in the United States. We have a socialist city council member. So
Yeah.
I
I have opinions about her too, but we won't go into that.
But one of the things that I remember when you were initially getting on Nextdoor, and I was like, you can't really post anything on Nextdoor. Not that you were wanting to, but
No, because I'm very private. I don't have Facebook or Instagram.
You had hopes for it. I think.
I got a treasure.
Right. You got a
So I
treasure.
set up myself for disappointment, because the very first week I was like, what the heck is this magical place?
Exactly. And so then to prove my point, I posted, hey, are there any haunted places here in Seattle? Every neighborhood has places where the kids say, that house is haunted. Just to kind of prove to you, and the first comment was, the only ghost that haunts this neighborhood is gentrification. And
That
then
was so pathetic. I mean, golly, gee.
and then a lady a little older than we are.
She was hitting on you,
yes,
David.
she
Wall.
private messaged me.
She was hitting on you.
She private messaged
She
me.
was like, I got a Ghostbuster in the neighborhood.
Yeah, she was like,
let's hook up.
She's like, come over to my place and I'll show you a ghost.
Ghost in my panties.
Haunted panties. Wow. You could probably sell those on eBay.
Yeah, as long as you've worn them for 12 hours.
So anyway, that was my. I just thought Fecal Matter All About would be a great band name in the tradition of the Butthole Surfers, or like a punk band. And it's such an interesting phrase.
And fecal is a great word.
So that was one of my topics for today.
Awesome, I liked it.
And the other one I was going to talk about a little bit was field trips when we were in school.
Okay.
I don't know if you ever went on field trips.
I think we'd have an annual trip to the Toledo Zoo.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
See, that's a nice one. So,
Did you have some that were traumatic?
well, I think I've mentioned these in passing on the podcast before, but I wanted to go a little bit more detail, which is one of the first field trips I remember going on, and this was with my Cub Scout troop, not my school. Mm-hmm. So it was in the cold Ohio winter, probably like right after a snowstorm. We drove in a car to a McDonald's, and there in the McDonald's, they took us into a basement conference room where there was a VCR, and they showed us videos of how awesome it is to work at McDonald's.
They were setting you up young for a career.
And then gave us free hamburger and fries.
Okay.
Which was nice.
Early recruiting. What grade were you in, or how old were you?
Gosh, I was young, probably like 11.
Okay.
My troop leader, Mrs. Wilkes, she said, well, can we tour the kitchen? And they were like, no, we're not allowed to have people that don't work here in the kitchen.
Okay. You
So-
can watch the video again.
So we literally just drove to a McDonald's, watched a videotape about how awesome it was to work at McDonald's. And it was aimed at teenagers with teenager type
Yeah.
benefits. And then given a hamburger and a small fries and then sent on our way.
That doesn't sound like. Did you have to get permission slip signed for
No,
that?
that was just for Cub Scouts.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if
Mrs.
you-
Wilkes.
Yeah, I don't know how much permission you had to get in the Cub Scouts in those days. It was kind of a free-for-all. But I always thought that was hilarious that we went to the McDonald's as a Cub Scout field trip
Yeah.
to get a job training video about, or a propaganda video about that. When I thought about it, I realized that my school also went to a fast food place. We went to the White Castle corporate headquarters on Goodale Drive in
Oh, that building was beautiful.
Columbus.
I have to say, it was like the enamel tile. Wasn't it enamel tile?
Porcelain.
Like porcelain. Oh,
So-
it was gorgeous.
So which was interesting in one sense because that's where they did the metal and porcelain buildings. So at the time, they were building the facade for all of the White Castle restaurants and other diners and stuff. Anyone that had that kind of white porcelain facade, it was built there. So it's porcelain mounted to metal. And you never have to paint it, and it lasts forever, basically. So they brought us there to show us that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we went in to see that process, which was very cool, and they explained to us that they used to make mobile White Castle restaurants because White Castle restaurants were so small.
Like a food truck almost?
It was a building though,
Oh.
but it was a self-contained building that you could just lift up and take somewhere else.
Oh, that's cool.
And the reason they did that is they were so small that they would try and get as little land as they possibly could to put it on. And a lot of landlords weren't willing to do long-term leases for little slices of land on a bigger land plot. Because if they sold the whole plot, they would have to do that. But I looked it up today, and they only ever moved 2 White Castle restaurants while they were open. So
Oh.
they went through this whole process, and I don't
But it
think
was
I think it was
unnecessary.
pretty much unnecessary. But it's still kind of a cool concept. So that part was cool.
Yeah.
Then, I know you're already laughing. Then they took us into a room and explained to us that there's nutritionally all you need to eat to survive is White Castle hamburgers and orange juice.
This sounds vaguely familiar.
Right. I think I mentioned it before the
Okay.
podcast. Yeah, and I was just thinking about it because I was like, wait, I went to
Every
McDonald's
meal.
and White Castle. And so they did an experiment back in the 1930s where they paid this medical student to eat nothing but White Castle hamburgers for 3 months.
Okay, is this where that guy who did Supersize Me, he got his idea?
Maybe.
Spurlock, I think
Yeah.
is his name.
But one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up is the guy who said that people shouldn't eat hamburgers that spurred them on to do the experiment. This is his quote about hamburgers in general. The hamburger habit is just about as safe as walking in a garden while the arsenic spray is being applied. And about as safe as getting your meat out of a garbage can standing in the hot sun.
What he kind of is a little right. I mean, he was ahead of his time. So how long did the medical student just survive on orange juice and
Well, he didn't do orange juice. He did
sliders?
water. They had added orange juice in the 70s as
Oh,
a necessity.
after they learned he had got is it rickets or scurvy?
Probably. Like
One
you'd
of them-
you'd get scurvy, but it was
boat.
so for 13 weeks, all he ate was White Castle hamburgers and water. And at the end, he was eating 20 to 24 burgers a day.
Poor guy, man. Ugh, I don't like White Castle. I know it's like controversial, but I don't like. They're like little paste burgers.
Yeah. But my favorite part of it was they said he never voluntarily ate a hamburger again in his life, and he died of heart problems at age 54.
Oh, that's the punchline. That's funny.
I thought it was good.
I like it.
What?
What were you talking about? Your food industry field trip? Question mark. Recruit
For education.
Yeah. We used to go on field trips to General Mills in Toledo. It was a giant General Mills plant, and they made cereal, all different kinds of cereal. And it was just like every year we would go, and sometimes, I don't think it was maybe we would go with school, but then it was open to the public too. And we went a few times during the field trips because at the end of the field trip, they gave you at least one box of cereal, full-size box.
Nice.
But I just remember when I was like really little, like they'd give me like 5 or 6 different boxes because I'd be so excited about it and be like, oh, what is that kind? What's that flavor? And so it was amazing.
And you knew people that worked at General Mills.
Well, I know a secret about General Mills. Yes, I do know people who worked at General Mills, but I can tell you that back in the olden days, in the 1970s, we went through a couple shortages as a country. There was a coffee shortage where coffee prices were insane. They were just like, it was crazy. Probably more expensive than it is today. There was a gas shortage. And then there was also a sugar shortage. And not many people know about the sugar shortage, but it was in the 1970s, and sugar was very expensive and hard to come by. Well, we were able to not have any issues with having sugar during the sugar shortage because we knew somebody who worked at General Mills, and they had a quote-unquote accidental sugar spill.
What?
Yeah. Accidental on-purpose sugar spill. And so instead of having the sugar go to waste, the employees could take
some sugar.
Not just like 5 pounds, like 70 pounds of sugar, because it was a whole sugar storage thing. And you think, ew, sugar spill, who wants to like eat sugar off the floor? But David, like, the floors were super duper clean. This whole place was super duper clean. And it was so much sugar, it was like piled up in like a giant mound. But it was always fun to go to General Mills and get my breakfast cereal. And that's my secret about General Mills. They closed that factory, is it called?
But that's fun to be able to go and get cereal.
Yeah.
All I got was
a heap
a hamburger and small fries, and then some White Castle hamburgers.
White Castle.
And they didn't even give us White Castles; they just gave us coupons for White Castles.
Oh, so you didn't even get to eat them like there, like.
They didn't make them there.
The thing that keeps like sticking out from your stories is that McDonald's had a bunker.
Like in the basement?
Yeah.
Well, it was weird because it seemed to me in retrospect, not at the time, that it must have been built for a different purpose than a McDonald's, the building they were in.
Okay.
Because I don't think you would ever give a restaurant a basement.
Yeah, unless they needed it for storage.
Yeah, which they were kind of using it for, but it had like a big table in it.
Yeah.
And a VCR with a TV.
Was it a Betamax?
Probably. Like, my memory.
Wouldn't you love to get your hands on that training video?
Probably. I could make TikToks about it.
TikTok.
All right. Well, that was all I had for this week.
Yay. Well, it's nice chatting with you.
Good to chat with you, too.
I love you.
Love you, too. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. And to read our show notes, sign up for our newsletter at bafflingcyclops.com.